So let me move into our first segment here. And as I mentioned, we are going to be talking about Cistercian prep. And I have, as I mentioned, in studio with me, Father John Beyer, who is the vocations director at Cistercian Prep, and also, there's also Cistercian Abbey there. And he is the Form 8 senior form master. And have three of the soon-to-be graduating seniors with me. Cash Leckler, who is headed to Texas A&M. He's a three-sport athlete. He's got two younger brothers who are in 6th and soon-to-be 5th grade next year. His mom was a Cistercian cheerleader, which is interesting. I didn't even know Cistercian had cheerleaders. Also, Carter Kenny and George Saliga are both joining me as well. They are members, among other things, of the Miracle Melodies, a student-led praise and worship group supporting students with Down syndrome. And they're also deeply engaged in service to their faith. George's brother James has Down syndrome, and another fun fact is George's father has been a celebrated and very popular teacher at Cistercian for almost 30 years. And so a lot to talk about. I do want to thank Brandon Mills, Director of Admissions and Communications. He's the one that set all of this up. So anyways, welcome to all of you. I know a couple of you are sharing the mic, so you can move that around. But Father John Beyer, thanks for coming in. No stranger to this studio.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So first off, before we get into Cistercian, your thoughts on the election of Pope Leo XIV. Your thoughts. Well, how did you get the news on Thursday?
I got the news by walking to my office and hearing a bunch of 5th and 6th graders shout with jubilation that we have a pope, and that was really fun to see their enthusiasm. And I went to the senior classrooms afterwards, and I saw that on one side they had already pulled up on the computer screen the loggia where the pope was going to come out and address the faithful. So I was very excited just to, habemus papam and enjoy the moment with my boys, the guys in my form. I've been with them for almost 8 years now, or actually concluding 8 years now, and to share that historic moment with them was a real treat.
Mm-hmm. I think you told me there's 43 graduating seniors. You had the baccalaureate mass this past weekend. Tomorrow's the last day of classes, and then graduation on this weekend. And you having been with this group for this whole time, this must be bittersweet for you. I mean, these guys, you've really gotten to know them in formation. Can you talk about that relationship?
Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite ideals about a Catholic education, that it's really a community affair. We don't just sit them down and throw some information at them. We recognize that education is all about relationships, and the human person really comes to its maturation through relationships. And so the classroom experience is in large part an occasion for relationship. Of course, there's lots of information and learning, and these guys will tell you that we definitely do try to communicate a lot in a Cistercian classroom, but my role as form master has a lot more, I think, to do with the relational side. And after 8 years of following them, trying my best to be good to them and getting to know them and their families, yeah, it is bittersweet at the end. But I think it's, at least right now, much more sweet, and bitter maybe isn't even the right word, sad sweet, because I'm very happy. I'm very satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
They make me very proud, and I'm so excited to see them fly off like arrows out of a bow and go all the places they're going and do wonderful things. They're just good young men, and I'm so proud to send them out.
Does that mean next year you'll be assigned a new group of 5th graders and you'll start the whole process over again? Is that how that works?
Mr. Palmer, that'll probably take a whole nother radio show. But actually, it looks like I'll be sent, at least for a short period of time, over to Hungary.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, explaining that would probably take more time than we have. But
now, were they purposely waiting
for
you to finish that cycle? Is that
all complicated stuff? Yeah. Let's say I only learned about this after spring break, that I would be sent over. And it's largely to discern the possibilities of a greater commitment between our house and the Cistercian presence over there in Hungary. It's a very exciting story, but I wouldn't want to...
Please come back and talk about that before you go, because many people may not realize the Hungarian roots of the Cistercians, which are so strong. But again, that's a whole different interview.
It's an incredible story of heroism and faith that we should talk about.
Yeah. So thanks again, and I'll come back to Father Beyer again from Cistercian, and I want to bring these wonderful students in on it. And first off, I saw on the website that the Cistercian students, many of them or all of them, I'm not sure how many, gathered in the lunchroom and saw the announcement last Thursday. And I was asking y'all about your comments, and I think, Cash, it was you who... I'm sorry, Carter, who was just really eloquently talking about the new Holy Father. Can you share some of your thoughts on it?
I mean, in retrospect, I'm surprised that Pope Leo has not been more well known as a bishop, because he's just such an eloquent speaker, and that's really exciting to see. After like all the rhetoric that we've studied and preaching that we've gotten at Cistercian, it's been fun to see, especially as he's explained why he chose the name Leo, and seeing his first homily in Italian was very exciting. So it's been a cool experience for all of us, I think.
Yeah, Cash or George, any thoughts on the new Holy Father? Have you had a chance to take any of this in yet, or what are your initial thoughts?
I think a lot of it is still that initial excitement. Again, on the day of, we were just checking the live stream in the 5-minute periods between classes, and one guy saw the white smoke, and everyone was just like, oh, who is it? Who isn't? And we were like, it's an American. And everyone kind of just went and looked him up a little bit on their own, like, who is this guy? And this genuine excitement to learn about our Holy Father has been really incredible.
Yeah, I didn't hear anybody predict he would be Pope, and I heard a lot of people, including Bishop Barron, who admitted afterwards. He said, I was wrong. Bishop Barron said, there's not going to be an American Pope. No American's going to be chosen. But I'm thankful that there is. I'm very happy and excited. Let me, and by the way, that was George. I know you can only hear voices, and you can't see who's talking, but I'll try to identify who's speaking. But let me bring each of you in and just ask you a couple of questions. Cash Leckler, these are all graduating seniors at Cistercian. They got their last class day tomorrow. Cash is headed to Texas A&M, 3-sport athlete, and mom was a cheerleader, like I said. What are your thoughts as you're literally in your last week? Tomorrow's your last day, as far as you look back at your formation all these years as Cistercian and the value of a Catholic education.
I'm just so proud of myself and all of my classmates for making it this long. It's been a long 8-year ride. I moved from San Antonio before I actually came here, and I barely remember anything before Cistercian. So it's sort of been like my whole life, just being formed and living with these guys and these teachers and these priests. And now that it's coming to an end, it's crazy. But I know that I'll always be able to come back and have it as a home, a place to go back to for support.
I'm a Jesuit grad, and Cistercian is such a good school, and it's known for its academics. And but I don't have any personal experience there. But can you speak about and I know you've only been a Cistercian, you haven't been to other high schools, but what's unique about it? There's something about Cistercian that's unique. And can you put your finger on that?
I would say it's two main things, the size and the monks. So there's only 43 guys in my class. We've been together for 8 years. We're so tightly knit. I would not call them my classmates. I would call them my brothers. We do everything together outside of school and in school. And then second, speaking on the monks, they take a vow of stability. And I see them every day. They pour out their heart and soul for us, really. It's their vocation. And I know that even when I leave next week, I'll be able to come back at any point in my life, and they'll be there waiting for us. So that's really awesome.
Yeah. And why did you choose A&M, and what do you plan to study there?
I chose A&M because it's all of my family went to A&M. My dad, and I'm an Aggie through and through. My dad, my grandma, my great grandfather, everybody. So I've grown up wanting to go there. I'm not really exactly sure what I want to do yet. I'm just gonna figure it out when I get there.
I was in College Station a couple of months ago for totally unrelated to Texas A&M, but I could feel it. I went into like a Cracker Barrel and I was like, I just feel the school. I mean, it's so palpable. They have so much. Everybody was in maroon and everybody's dressed like you're dressed with the A&M. It's just like I can feel the spirit of A&M here. It's quite a phenomenon for sure. All right, Cash, we'll come back hopefully, and any other thoughts that you have, Cistercian, we'll come back to you. But let me bring in Carter Kenny. He's the one that spoke a moment ago so eloquently about our new Holy Father. He is headed to the University of Notre Dame, as is George Saliga, and among many other things, involved in Miracle Melodies, a student-led praise and worship group supporting students with Down syndrome. I know that's just one of many, many things, but I'll ask you kind of the same question. Your thoughts of your time at Cistercian now that it's coming to an end, and what are your top reflections?
Yeah, that vow of stability that Cash talked about, I think really is such a unique aspect of Cistercian. The reason Father John wasn't sent to Hungary earlier, because he's definitely the man for the job, was because they wanted him to finish out those 8 years with us. Mm-hmm. And having that resource of the form master specifically, who's been with us that entire time, is, I think, very valuable. I had this reflection, like after the baccalaureate mass, from Brother Joseph Esparza, who's a Holy Cross monk from Notre Dame. And he was talking about how, like, within a community, we really aren't ourselves outside of the community in isolation, and community really is such an important aspect of Cistercian. It's a large reason why I chose Notre Dame, because they clearly value that same community. Mm-hmm. And doing things like Miracle Melodies that all three of us are involved in are ways in which we get to extend that community out to the larger Dallas area. So.
Yeah, now George, has a very personal connection with the Down syndrome, and I'm curious about you, Carter. Is what motivates you among all the many things that you could do to be involved in this group, Miracle Melodies, again, a student-led praise and worship group supporting students with Down syndrome in the Notre Dame School of Dallas. Why'd you get involved in that?
So I for years now have lifeguarded and taught swim lessons just at my rec center, and that's sort of where I began kind of having an experience with teaching children with developmental disabilities, because I would teach them swim lessons. And then that sort of branched off into what we were talking about earlier, which is Rays of Light on Lover's Lane, where parents will send in their kids as guests for the night, and we get to entertain them, play games with them. There's a magic show and stuff like that. So then it seemed like a natural thing for me. I'm very interested in kind of teaching and healthcare, so it was exciting to be able to go to the Notre Dame school, and like we start off our Monday mornings in worship and this real community and fellowship with one another. So it's very exciting, very fun way to start the week.
University of Notre Dame is hard to get into. Were you, and I don't know anything about your GPA and whether it was even a challenge for you to get into or not, but why did you've already kind of hinted at that, what you like about Notre Dame, but it must be pretty exciting to become a Fighting Irish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. There's a lot of photos of me as a younger kid in Fighting Irish gear. So I'm glad that I get to go there. The community was definitely a huge aspect. I think for both George and I, we're excited about that. Obviously very rigorous academics. And, looking at, they have this thing called Notre Dame Compass that connects you with alumni since the school's founding. And stuff like that is very exciting, that I could have a community that really, as widespread as Cistercian is, it's not international. In the same way that Notre Dame is. So that sort of expanding of my circle is very exciting.
Yeah. I should point out that all three of these guys are wearing college shirts, but only one of them actually matches. Cash has A&M on, as I mentioned. Carter's wearing Villanova for good reason. And then I like how, George has a UT, University of Texas, and that's, I guess, why he and Cash have to be separated by somebody.
Yeah.
Can't sit those two schools next to each other. But yeah, the Villanova connection's pretty cool. Is that because of the Pope?
Yeah, I was saying that I'm repping Pope Leo the 14th today.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, thank you, Carter. George Saliga is our third graduating senior from Cistercian Prep, and as we mentioned, he also is involved in Miracle Melodies. Has a very personal connection to that because his brother James has Down syndrome, and also his father has been continues to be a teacher there, a popular one at Cistercian for 29 years. But just before we get to any of that, George, the same question I asked the other two about, your thoughts as you prepare to graduate, move into this next phase of your life.
Yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for all that Cistercian has offered me, especially in the moral formation and all of the priests, the monks available. Whether it's something like confession, you can go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. It alternates between adoration and mass in the little school chapel, and the monks are always there ready to have deep conversations with you. And that's part of the reason I chose Notre Dame. I was able to do a program this past summer called SSIP, the Summer Seminary Immersion Program, where I got to get a closer look at the Holy Cross Order itself and just see how the priests there, kind of like the Cistercian monks, are just so dedicated to morally forming these young men at the university, just as the monks are at Cistercian. And I'm very excited to kind of continue up on that moral formation I've received here up at South Bend. So I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about your brother, because I think you mentioned before we started on the air that sometimes your dad will bring your brother James, who has Down syndrome, to the school, and the Down syndrome kids tend to be the most joyful people in the world. But yeah. Tell us about him and how that motivated you to be involved in the Miracle Melodies.
He really is. He's a pure conduit of joy. So he is honestly the greatest role model I've seen of what it means to be like a good man, a good person, because he is unrestrained by social fears, expectation. He's himself, and he wants to bring joy with other people. And I've really been able to see that each morning at Miracle Melodies as we lead these kids in praise and worship. I'm at the mic, Carter and Cash do some guitars, and Cash does some singing too. And it's beautiful. We do this one song at the end called Yes, Lord. And by the end of it, they're all literally just like shouting in jubilation, like, yes, Lord, yes, Lord. And just this acceptance of, I want to follow God in this pure way that it's so hard to get anywhere else. These kids are just so invigorated for love of God and neighbor. It's really inspirational.
Mm-hmm. And Father, you want to mention about a particular event having to do with this, the Miracle Melodies that Cistercian does every year. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So, Cistercian, we try to promote community service in various ways, but I think my form has, for various reasons, including, George's brother, had a particular affinity for the special needs community, and so through Rays of Light and Miracle Melodies, but also through this dance that we have once a year, the Lejeune Luau. We used to call it the Down Syndrome Guild dance, the DSG dance, but we rebranded it the Lejeune Luau after Jérôme Lejeune, the French geneticist who actually discovered the chromosomal abnormality behind Down syndrome, and who is Venerable Jérôme Lejeune. He was a major pro-life advocate, and I think the first president of the Pontifical Council for Life under St. John Paul II. So anyway, we have this dance in honor of Jérôme Lejeune and his work as a scientist, a very intelligent Catholic scientist and pro-life warrior. And at the dance, we have the boys just decorate the lunchroom and the small lecture hall, usually a luau theme. And they provide a space where our guests can dance, but also play games. So tic-tac-toe and pin the tail on the donkey and beanbag toss and these sorts of things. And also a little quiet room for our guests as well. And who are our guests? Well, if it's not obvious by now, it's a guest of anyone who's of a certain age. I think we have from 12 to 21 or 22, who has a developmental disability, autism, Down syndrome, whatever it might be. And they come and they get a chance to play with our guys. And it's probably my favorite social event of the year because we are able, God willing, to provide a very happy evening for them and some respite for their families. But I am also always so happy as a teacher and form master when I see the effect of that kind of service upon our own boys and their dates. The simplicity and lack of self-consciousness that can sometimes hamper particularly a teenager, where the boys and their dates just seem to feel free to be themselves and to just be happy about dancing and moving, as opposed to always worrying about how they're looking. It seems like a very liberating and joyful event for everybody, both the guests and our hosts.
Yeah, I want to give you guys a chance after. Father, I just wanted. I wanted to let you guys know the question that's coming, so you can have a chance to think about it. But just closing thoughts. Maybe each one of you can just give us some thought about. I guess what I see in the Cistercian students is just kind of a formation of a whole person. It just seems like you all, and not nobody's perfect, nobody has it all together, but it just seems like you're just solid men who are ready for the next stage of your life. But I just want to give you a chance to maybe brag a little bit about anything else, the teachers, the curriculum, the faith formation. But anyway, that's coming. So get those thoughts together. And Father, how much longer are you going to be in North Texas, or when are you leaving exactly?
So I'll be away for about a month in the summer, June 12th to maybe July 10 or 12, something like that. I haven't bought the return ticket yet. But then I'll leave at the end of August for a period of, we're saying, 3 to 9 months. And I'll be coming back at different times to report to the abbot, because I'm essentially going as something of a sentinel or scout to discern the concrete possibilities for an American monk to live and work in Budapest, teach at perhaps the local Catholic university. So they have an Erasmus program where different European students can study. And so someone teaching in English might even be possible. But then also the possibilities of opening up something like a discernment house to encourage young men to consider formation in monastic life. So it's very much an investigatory project that I have. We're hoping it succeeds, but we're trying to be humble and go step by step and work with our partners over there in Hungary. But I do hope to come back over the year. And for sure, if this does look like something that would succeed, we would vote upon it as a community before we actually, press the green button and hit go. And that would be a vote that we would have next summer. And if that vote goes forward, if it's the abbot's will, I could go back to Hungary for a much longer period of time.
What a blessing that you were chosen to be the scout for this mission. That's quite an adventure. You been to Hungary before?
Yeah, for a few days over 10 years ago.
Yeah. All right. I was actually there. I went on a Danube riverboat cruise and went to Budapest for about a day. So pretty exciting. All right. We have been talking about Cistercian college prep with Father John Beyer, who you just heard from, and also 3 of the graduating seniors whose graduation ceremony will be this weekend. Cash Leckler is headed to Texas A&M. Carter Kenny and George Saliga both going to the University of Notre Dame. You've heard from all of them. So just kind of an open question. Just any closing thoughts or reflections that maybe you'd like to talk about before we close out the interview. I'll start with Cash Leckler. Go ahead, Cash.
Yeah, as you said before, just a big thing about Cistercian is formation and how we're formed throughout our time here. And I'd say that is mainly because of how faith-based like all of our learning is, all of our classes, not just theology, but English and math. All of my teachers are practicing Catholics, or at least most of them, and they add that into their teaching. Like, we're not just learning for the sake of learning. We're learning for a greater purpose, or a greater reason. And I think that is a big thing.
All right. Well, blessings for you as you head off to College Station, Texas A&M, and what a blessing that's going to be. So thank you, Cash, for being here.
Thank you.
Carter Kenny, what would you like to close out with?
I'd just like to plug the school. That really well integrated education has been such a great blessing at Cistercian. Pope Leo, in talking about his name, said he talked about the value of human dignity and how we're going to have to discern that in this new age of AI and technology. And those are the types of questions that are asked in science and math and English and history classes, not only in theology class at Cistercian. That's been very exciting. So we not only learn about some gene editing tool, but learn about the ethics of why that would be a valuable thing to use or why that could be used for evil. This year in English and theology, as we're coming to a close, we've began reading the Confessions of St. Augustine. So another Augustinian connection, but that is intersected very nicely with theology in kind of an unexpected way, because we're doing world literature in English. So you wouldn't expect like this very Catholic vein to come in. But that's just been another way in which that integration has manifested itself so well to prepare us for a real integrated world.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Carter, and best of luck to you at University of Notre Dame as you head out there for next year. Another Fighting Irish will be George Saliga. We'll close with you, George. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think about Cistercian and just in general this massively important task of forming the conscience that goes beyond forming, like how well you can approach a math problem or like how to thoroughly read a history textbook, just to be able to have a basic understanding of right and wrong and knowing the right thing to do, such that then you can choose, I want to live a life of virtue. But first you have to be taught what it means to live a life of virtue. And I think Cistercian does an excellent job of that. And I'm so happy to have been a part of it.
Yeah. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. And Father, last comment?
I hope you can see why, bittersweet is not quite the right word. Sad that these guys are going, but how sweet. Like, to listen to them speak so eloquently and with such pride and depth about these past 8 years, it sure makes me filled with satisfaction and excitement to see where they go in the future. And really, I mean, these three, they're all the best, but I think any of the 43 could have come here and given you an answer like that.
Yeah. And would you mind closing us with a blessing before we head to our break?
Sure. Almighty Father, we thank you for the gift of a community, most of all the community of the church, in which you form each of us to be members of your Son and to live forever in truth and love. Please bless us here today in this radio show, and bless everyone who hears us and anyone who's connected to Catholic education anywhere in the world. May we all fulfill our vocations and do all that you have in mind. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Father John Beyer, and also thanks to Cash Leckler, Carter Kenny, and George Saliga, graduating seniors at Cistercian. You can find out more about Cistercian Prep at cistercian.org. And again, thank you to Brandon Mills, Director of Admissions and Communications, for helping to arrange this interview. We're going to take a break now and come back and talk to Dr. Peter Howard about the Fulton Sheen Institute, his thoughts on the new Pope, and also a pilgrimage that he is leading down to Mexico City to Our Lady Guadalupe Shrine coming up in August. So we'll be back with more good news after this.